Welcome. Tonight, allow yourself to slowly drift into the distant past, to the misty, pine-scented valleys of feudal Japan. The air is calm, tinged with wood smoke, and somewhere far off, a flute plays a quiet tune. You are entering a time of iron discipline, quiet honor, and ritual, but also of struggle of structure so tight it presses in on every breath. This isn't the Japan of cherry blossoms and graceful fan dances, though those things existed too. Tonight, we begin in the dirt, in the rice paddies, in the worn sandals of a common villager beneath the watchful eyes of samurai lords. You may think of the samurai as noble, armored warriors charging into glorious battle. But in truth, much of their lives and the lives of those under their rule were governed by endless routines, rigid codes, and the soft thud of feet in mud. Over the next 2 hours, we'll explore the full spectrum of life in this world. From the exhausting discipline of a samurai-controlled village to the haunting patience of the 47 Ronin. We'll wander through shadows to explore the myths of the ninja. And finally, we'll step quietly into the lacquered stillness of Edo Castle, where every breath was measured and every glance carried weight. So, close your eyes. Take a breath. Imagine pine trees swaying in silence above a sloping, misty hillside. Imagine the quiet drip of rain on a tiled roof, and prepare to travel back calmly and curiously into a world where every moment was controlled by honor, and every silence spoke volumes. Imagine yourself standing at dawn in a small village nestled between wooded hills where the rice fields stretch outward like green, watery mirrors. The year is perhaps 1580, perhaps 1640. Time flows differently here. The seasons rule everything, and the Lord rules the rest. You are a peasant, born into the village, unlikely ever to leave it. There are no maps here, not for you. The land you work belongs to the samurai lord, whose estate watches over the valley from a rise nearby. Retainers come through often, checking the paddies, collecting reports, making sure things are ... orderly, and they are. Your day begins well before the sun appears, while the world is still gray and quiet. Your feet sink into soft, damp soil as you walk to the edge of the rice fields, a woven hat slung low over your face, straw sandals already wet. The work is repetitive planting, tending, harvesting, and the rhythm of the village echoes through your movements. No one works quickly. Haste brings mistakes. But there is no pause either. Just the slow, endless motion of bodies in rows, bending and standing, over and over again. Your diet is simple millet gruel, pickled vegetables, and if the harvest is good, some polished rice. Meat is rare, sugar a dream. Tea. Perhaps once in a while, if you're lucky, you live under curfew. When the sun sets, the village gates are shut. Lanterns glow softly in homes, their light barely visible through paper walls. Noise is discouraged. Laughter is rare. The samurai do not like chaos. Discipline surrounds you. Not just military, but spiritual, social, internal. You belong to a class, a role, a space in the world that is not to be questioned. Your clothing is plain homespun cotton, perhaps indigo dyed if you're better off. You may own a small blade, for utility, not pride. To carry anything more would be a grave offense. Nearby, the young sons of samurai train in sword forms. You hear the rhythmic command response of their kata in the morning's sharp shouts, the wooden clack of bakken hitting air. They live differently. Their lives revolve around readiness. Yours revolves around survival. And then there are the taxes. Not coins, not bills, but in rice. Measured out and recorded. Even in famine, the quota remains. You give what you must. You give more if you can, because not giving ... is dangerous. Honor is not just a word in this village. It is a system, an atmosphere, a pressure. You bow often. You avoid eye contact with the samurai. Do not speak unless spoken to. Every action is measured by its weight within the invisible architecture of respect. and yet there is beauty too. The smell of the earth after a rainstorm, the glimmer of fireflies in summer, the first warmth of a charcoal brazier in winter. Life is hard, but not without rhythm. The village festival arrives each year, quiet but colorful, with paper lanterns swaying in the wind and flutes echoing across the hills. Still, for a modern soul used to noise and choice and comfort, this world would feel like a cage carved from silence. The work would exhaust you, the rules would confine you, quiet would unnerve you. Because here, your life is not your own. It belongs to the clan, to the land, to the unspoken pact that binds peasants to samurai, samurai to lord, and all to a life of duty. And so, as another gray dawn breaks over the valley and the fields ripple in the morning breeze, you bend once more, ankle deep in water, your hands already stained with soil, as they were yesterday, and as they will be tomorrow. Segment 2. The 47 Ronin and the long wait for revenge now. We move from the quiet suffering of the fields to a story often told, but rarely examined in silence, the tale of the 47 Ronin, a saga etched deep into the cultural fabric of Japan. You may know the story in outline, loyal retainers avenging their disgraced master. But beneath the drama lies something more subtle, something solemn. This is not a tale of wild revenge. It is a story of patience, of stillness, of watching the seasons turn while holding a single thought close to the heart. Day after day, year after year. Let us begin, quietly in Idotha, seat of the Tokugawa shogunate. A city of precise streets, orderly temples, and hushed whispers. It is here that Lord Asano, a provincial daimyo, arrived to perform ceremonial duties. But things do not go smoothly. Tensions rise, protocol is violated. Sword is drawn within the shogun's palace on unthinkable breach of decorum. Lord Asano strikes a court official, Kira Yoshinaka, though the blow is not fatal. Still, the consequences are swift and final. For drawing steel where it should never be drawn, Asano is ordered to commit seppuku ritual suicide. His lands are seized. His family name is disgraced. His loyal samurai are cast out, becoming Ronin masterless men, their purpose gone. The tale could end there. Many wished it would. But the Ronin do not vanish. They scatter, disguising their intentions. Some become monks. Others take menial jobs. They sell their armor, let their hair grow. They wait. 1 year passes, then another. The world forgets. But they do not. Their leader, Jishi Yoshio, moves carefully. He drinks. He feigns apathy. In Kyoto, he stumbles home from taverns, allowing his enemies to believe he is broken, his spirit drowned in psyche. But inside, he waits. Inside, he watches. The seasons change. Snow falls on Ito's rooftops. Rice is harvested, stored, measured. Children are born. Old samurai die. The Ronin wait still. The world assumes the fire has gone out. Then, after nearly 2 years, on a cold night in December, they gather. The plan is silent, precise. They attack Kira's mansion with minimal bloodshed, seeking only their target. They find him in a hidden courtyard. We're in there. With the same calm solemnity they have preserved all this time, they take their revenge. They do not flee. They do not boast. They surrender themselves at once, requesting the right to die by their own hands, as their master did. The shogunate debates. Public opinion swells with admiration. The end, the 47 Ronin are granted the honor of death and buried side by side beside their master's grave in a quiet temple in Sengakuji. The story became legend. But listen closely, not to the act of vengeance, but to the waiting, to the restraint. Imagine waking each day for months, for years, with one purpose that must be hidden. Imagine the silence of that purpose, the loneliness of it, the cold discipline, the choice to follow through, not in heat or anger, but in the slow, deliberate rhythm of duty. This is not a tale of violence. It is a tale of control, soft footsteps, of nights spent listening to the wind move through bamboo, knowing that your life will end not in battle, but in fulfillment of a single obligation. So they wait, and so they act. And then quietly, they vanish, leaving behind not a war, not a revolution, but a silence so profound that it echoes to this day. Segment 3. The secret lives of the ninja, truths and fictions about espionage, poisons, and smoke bombs. From the well-swept courtyards of the samurai to the moss-covered rooftops under moonlight, we now descend into the unseen folds of Japanese history, the world of the ninja, or shinobi. Forget for a moment the flying kicks, the supernatural leaps, the throwing stars that whirl with deadly accuracy. Strip away the myth, and what remains is even more compelling quiet. It's practical men and women who specialized in survival, deception, and discretion. The term ninja simply means one who endures. And indeed, endurance was their greatest skill, not merely the endurance of hardship or injury, but the slow, patient endurance of living a double life. These were not warriors in the traditional sense. They were intelligence agents, saboteurs, spies operating in the shadows of a society ruled by rigid honor codes and an obsession with appearance. Imagine yourself in 16th century Japan during the Sengoku Jidaiha, age of warring states. Domains constantly shift, castles rise and fall. Information is power, and secrecy is survival. You are hired not to win a battle, but to gather whispers. You memorize layouts of castles. You slip past sleeping guards. Perhaps you spend weeks as a servant in a lord's household, sweeping floors, preparing tea, until one night, with practiced hands, you set a fire in the storehouse, or steal a scroll from behind a lacquered screen. Contrary to popular belief, you do not wear black pajamas. You dress like a farmer, a monk, a traveling musician. Your true armor is invisibility through normality. You blend in. Your presence is forgettable. Your tools are rarely weapons. They are instruments of entry and escape. Hooks, smoke powders, grapples, sandals with split toes for silent movement. A flute that doubles as a breathing tube, should you need to hide underwater. Perhaps you carry powders designed not to kill, but to confuse a pepper mix to blind guards, or a bundle of loud firecrackers to create a diversion. And yet, while you live by subterfuge, you are not untrained. You are versed in survival, stealth, and simple combat. You know how to run along forest ridges, how to walk silently across gravel, how to disappear down a mountain trail before the alarm is raised. There were schools Ziga and Koga being the most famous where techniques were passed down carefully. These were not mystical arts, but deeply practical lessons. How to read weather, how to use shadows, how to mimic bird calls for coded signals. Everything with a purpose, everything to survive. And then there is the question of poison. Yes, it was used sparingly, cautiously. Extracts from aconite, nightshade, or pufferfish. Not to assassinate high-profile targets that would invite retaliation, but to weaken a guard, or ensure that a message did not reach its destination. Much of what we think we know comes from centuries later, as folklore and kabuki plays elevated ninja into almost supernatural beings. But the real shinobi were something more difficult to define. Gray figures in a black and white world, neither warriors nor criminals, neither fully samurai nor entirely outcast. They were useful, till they weren't. As Japan unified under Tokugawa rule, the need for ninja faded. Their services became unnecessary. Many melted into the countryside, becoming farmers or simple laborers once more. Others perhaps continued quietly, working as guards, scouts, or silent watchers for powerful families. Today, traces remain in old manuals, in family lineages, in the winding paths through certain forests in Aiga province. But mostly they remain in the shadows. Imagine living this way, never known, rarely thanked. Your best successes are the ones no one notices. And when you vanish, the world continues, unaware of what might have been avoided because of you. Not every story is loud. Some echo softly, like a step on damp earth, like the breath of someone waiting in the dark. Segment 4. A Shogun's Day in Edo Castle Rituals, Poetry and Power, Layered in Silk. It is early morning in Edo, the capital of Tokugawa, Japan. The sun has not yet pierced the clouds over the wide moat, but already the corridors of Edo Castle stir with motion. Servants pad quietly through the vast wooden halls. Lanterns are trimmed, sandals are lined neatly at thresholds. Tatami mats are brushed clean, and somewhere behind layers of sliding screens and silent attendants, the shogun is rising. You are not the emperor. He remains a distant figure in Kyoto, cloaked in sacred authority but removed from daily power. You, as shogun, are the supreme military ruler. Your word governs more than 30 million people. You do not shout. You do not rush. You do not need to. Power here flows in stillness. Your robes are chosen carefully. Silk, naturally, and perhaps a subtle cresture, embroidered with threads so fine it catches the light like water. An attendant bows and presents the day's agenda, already arranged down to the minute. It is a life of precise routine, not luxury in the Western sense, but rather elegant order. The day begins with a formal audience. You sit behind a screen of painted pines, lords of the great domains, demonial in stiff ceremonial poses. They do not speak unless invited. They do not meet your gaze. Everything here is theater, and you are both actor and audience. This is the Sanken Keidai system in action, each lord forced to spend part of the year in Edo under your watchful eye. Their families live here permanently, hostages in all but name. This keeps rebellion at bay, not with violence, but with presence, order enforced by geography and time. As the morning deepens, you move through the inner chambers, a labyrinth of lacquered wood, paper screens, and manicured gardens visible through open verandas. Here the sounds are hushed, the shuffle of robes, the soft call of a distant cuckoo, the trickle of a hidden stream in the courtyard below. You meet with advisors. Scrolls are reviewed, rice taxes calculated, border disputes discussed. Even your silences carry weight. And then, perhaps, a moment of reflection. You compose a waka, poem 31 syllables to capture the breeze in the pine needles or the sudden memory of plum blossoms in early spring. Poetry is not diversion, it is duty. A shogun must be cultured, refined. Power is measured not only in armies, but in grace. Lunch is taken alone or with favored retainers. Simple fare, perhaps grilled river fish, pickled vegetables, white rice, and a sweet bean cake. Food is not excessive. Excess is unbecoming. But everything is arranged with care. Aesthetic discipline is as important as martial order. The afternoon is filled with deliberation. Perhaps a dispute between temple authorities and local officials. Or an update from Nagasaki, the sole port where foreign traders, Dutch and Chinese, are permitted under strict regulation. You oversee a nation increasingly closed to the world, your isolation not out of fear, but control. By evening, the castle quiets again. Paper lanterns flicker in the growing dusk. The scent of incense drifts softly through the corridors, zeluzwood, perhaps, or sandalwood, marking the hour of rest. You might enjoy a no performance in the private theater, stylized, slow, and elegant. The masked actors move with deliberate precision. The stories are ancient, the music spare. There is comfort in repetition, in ritual, in rhythm. And then, at last, in the deepest part of the castle, within the innermost chambers, you retire, surrounded by attendants who will sleep just outside your door. The tatami is clean, the futon soft, the walls are painted with cranes or waves or clouds. Tomorrow will unfold just as today did. The calendar is mapped, the castle endures. Your life is not one of excitement. It is one of balance between stillness and motion, between display and distance, between power exercised and power withheld. And outside, far beyond the castle gates, the city of Edo continues. Lanterns glow in narrow alleys. Merchants close their shutters. The sound of a distant shamisen echoes softly in the night. Inside, the shogun sleeps. And so, too, may you. Conclusion. Power in silence, struggle in shadows. As we leave behind the layered silks of Edo Castle and the quiet footsteps of the shogun, we reflect on the many worlds we've visited tonight. From the muddy fields and rigid rhythms of a samurai village, where you labored under the eye of your clan and bent your back to the weight of honor and rice taxes, to the patient, stoic loyalty of 47 masterless men who waited years for a single strike of vengeance. Through the smoke and secrecy of the ninja's hidden world, filled with whispers, shadows, and carefully spun half-truths, and finally, into the perfumed halls of absolute power, where silence, poetry, and poised ritual shaped the rule of an entire nation. Each part of this story revealed a different thread in the intricate tapestry of feudal Japan, one woven with discipline, ritual, and quiet control. It was a world where emotion was tightly held, where duty defined every breath, and where even rebellion was wrapped in ceremony. You may find yourself now drifting through the soft corridors of memory. Perhaps the rhythm of sandals on wood or the rustle of a kimono sleeve in a castle hallway still lingers faintly in your thoughts. Let them linger. Let them soften. Let the past blur gently into dreams. The hard lines of discipline, the ancient codes of honor, the flicker of lanterns across ink-black moats, they are all part of a distant rhythm now. One that asks nothing more of you but rest. And so, as the final candle is gently pinched out in some quiet Edo chamber, and the sky outside remains soft with mist, we end our journey. May your dreams be calm, your rest deep, and your night quiet. Good night, and thank you for listening to Boring History for Sleep.